Call this meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Moreno.
Here.
Vasquez.
Here.
Director Clayton.
Here.
Director Adams.
Here.
Director Brown.
Here. Thank you. Moving on to item number 1, minutes of the regular meeting held April 11th, 2024.
I have read the minutes. I make a motion to be approved as written.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Moving on to item number 2, committee reports.
Mr. President, your executive committee met for agenda setting last Thursday. April 18th. Conclusion of committee reports.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, general manager's report.
Yes, we had a meeting last Wednesday for the pre-construction for the custom facility. The contractors, we're waiting on the city permit, but as soon as that arrives, they'll begin mobilizing for that construction. The Fish and Wildlife folks were out yesterday doing the Santa Barbara CTS roundup survey that they do on a regular basis. So we facilitated them gaining access to that area so they could conduct that survey work. You may have noticed the last couple of days we had Delta Airlines here doing a photo shoot. They I guess they've done it for about 8 years, but they'll do a photo shoot. But it was pretty impressive. They had some very expensive aircraft with cameras on, and we got to see some of the initial editing. It was very impressive. Our airport's going to be in Delta advertising for probably the next 6-8 years. And the last item of the report is president and staff met with 2 social media companies. Just meet them, talk about what we could do in the digital marketing space, if you will. And we're hoping to do a 3rd one, and then bring back to you a proposal on for a digital marketing campaign after we finish our due diligence and figure out what we think you all should consider. So that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Any questions from the read on? Moving on to item number 4, manager of finance and administration report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I provided the manager for your review and approval.
I read through it. I believe it's accurate, and I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
The remaining items are informational only, and unless you have any questions, move on to the next item.
Any questions before moving on? Okay. Moving on to item number 5, public session. Statements from the floor will be heard during public session. Request to speak forms are provided for those wishing to address the board. After completing the form, please give it to the clerk. Requests requiring board action will be referred to staff and brought on the next appropriate agenda. Members of the public are cordially invited to speak on agenda items as they occur. Staff reports covering agenda items are available for review in the offices of the general manager on Tuesdays prior to each meeting. The board will establish a time limit for receipt of testimony, in this case, 3 minutes. The board reserves the right to establish further time limits for receipt of testimony. With that being said, I have Renee.
Board members and patrons of the San Members, that is. My name is Renee Lamars, and my MJ is First item basically is, of course, the annual rent increase of 50%. First off, my opinion is the audio line, 50%. increase. Yesterday, I received a rumor, an increase, about the increase. And this was actually all for me right now. Via text. At 1:17 PM, I called and I messaged Martin Bell, the manager, airport manager, and asked to have him call me back. Of course, I never heard anything back from him or anyone else about anything. The thing was, I did not mention any contents of the rumor that I mentioned to the person who took the call, one of the admin people, basically, that there was a rumor going around, and I wanted to find out whether or not there was any truth to it. And of course, I was asked what the rumor was. Well, I'm not going to spread the rumor any further than it is. There's no sense in making it any worse than what it is. So it's good fun, and of course, I never heard back from him or anyone else from your agenda.
This is an agendized item. It shouldn't be during this public session.
Mr. President, very respectfully, this, I believe that the gentleman is addressing, an item that will be discussed on the board under item 6. Generally, the public session is for items that are not on the agenda, and so your board can proceed as you'd like. But generally, just for ease of discussion, your board will typically take public comment for each agenda item as those items come up, rather than take public comment in the beginning. So this time, I would suggest we spend for the public to be provided an opportunity to comment on any items that are not on the agenda, and then for public comment to be made as your board discusses.
Given that,
But you're wanting to
I'm
proceed.
looking at all of this here, it's all regarding, item number 6, so, we can go ahead and just start item number 6. If you want. So,
Thank you.
we will give you your time.
I'm sorry, say again, please.
Wow. You have your time back. I apologize.
Okay. So I can continue, is that correct?
Continue.
So within 45 minutes of my call, by the way, none of this stuff was on the website at all that we could find. There was mention about it, but it was never really posted. But within 45 minutes of my call, all of a sudden, it was posted on the website, on some type of website. Now that's a little, it's odd, put it that way. So my understanding is that perhaps at least 72 hours of time frame before anything that's going to be on the agenda is actually put on the agenda for the meeting. Of course, that well within that 72 hours, 29 hours prior to today at 6 p.m. So the question then is that all of a sudden, because somebody, myself, calls and finds and asks a question about some rumor, and all of a sudden it appears on the website, doesn't that sound a little suspicious? Sure did to me. So I would. Now, the question is it a coincidence? But I doubt it. Of course not. So I would urge you, everyone here, the board, to withdraw, delete the idea of the percent increase until it's done the right way. In other words, let everybody know plenty of time, that's what you plan to do. And if that's the case, then put it out. And you should put it out at least 30 days prior to that, so that everybody can have an idea of what's going on and be familiar with the subject. So that's really all that I have. I just want to make sure that you understand that if you're going to do something like that, do it proper way. Let everybody know so that everyone can come by and make their points. The only reason we're here is because the rumor got out. That rumor was not supposed to get out, obviously. you would have an empty place here, two or three people, or a few more than that, but now you got a full house. Right? There's a lot more to say, but at this point, or at this time, there's no plan to continue, so that's all I've got. Thank you. Okay.
So we will be moving on to item number 6, as I mentioned earlier, resolution 930, resolution of the Board of Directors of the Santa Maria Public Airport District, amending the rates and charges for fiscal year 2024-2025.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to clarify that package was posted on the website on Monday, and that the phone call was returned. There was no answer. In regards to resolution 930, every year the district adopts rates and charges, normally on CPI. This year I was asked to do a market rate study. We are very far below market rate in comparison to the airports in our vicinity. So I gave the information to the board and was directed to increase the running rates to the lowest of the market rates, which is 40 cents per square foot. Every other airport in the region is higher than
What is the current highest?
83 cents in a square foot in Santa Barbara,
What's San Luis now?
45.
45.
We're actually, and just another additional item, we are actually not the only airport trying to have market rate. Lompoc just got to market rate as well.
Lompoc did?
Yes,
And what's Lompoc charging?
40. They're also going to adopt a non-airworthy policy as well.
Let's go ahead and have discussion beforehand between the board, and then we will go into public session on this item, and we will continue this. So,
My opinion is this is wrong. It will not help the airport, it will hurt it. We live in a different community than the other airports that have been mentioned. And to raise nights by 50% is, I think, going to be destructive to this airport. And I'd like to read one paragraph from the letter I got today. There are fewer and fewer general aviation pilots. As older pilots retire and younger pilots cannot afford to purchase and operate private aircraft, student pilots are, for the most part, are training for commercial opportunities. Airports are also harder to access due to post 9/11 access restrictions. All these factors combine to discourage interest in flying, even as the demand for commercial flying increases. All airports, including Santa Maria, should do everything in their power to make flying attractive to new pilots and to keep older pilots in the air. This will help us meet the demand for all pilots now and in the future. An abrupt 50% increase in hangar rates does exactly the opposite. This is from Rhonda Cardinal, hangar 30.7 feet. Much more to it, but that's my comment. I'll disagree with it.
You know, I look at this, I mean, the hangars have been notoriously cheap, notoriously inexpensive here. All this does is bring it up to the current market value is for the airport market value. So, the only thing that I have with it, I mean, I'm okay with going with the rates, but I think we need to take that non-airworthy aircraft charge and take that off there. Yeah, I mean, I would support it, but without that charge. Because now we're at market. Non-airworthy aircraft, you have sitting in these hangars that were under market at that time. We put that in and bring those aircraft back in
back to the air movement and back there. Now you're charging a market rate, there's no reason to have that charge in there. I mean, with that caveat in there, I would support that.
The non-airworthy rates. I brought them in trying to keep the hangar rates low because of the expenses that we've got. And bringing the rents up into the market where they should be, they should have been right along. And that, I have no heartburn about getting rid of the non-airworthy fees. The other thing I've got too is that this is not just about those. I'm looking at the non-aviation rates. I'd like to see the ag lease rate raised to 2,200. And then we also need to take a look at the grazing rates and that verbiage on that thing there, I'm a little confused. That's my 2 cents.
Go ahead and start with, restart the session. I have Joseph here. Joseph. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Board of Directors, Chair. Thanks for listening today. I couldn't believe my ears when I heard the rumor of this 50% increase. The T hangers or whatever the other, I don't know what the corporate hangers are. But as you know, general aviation's hurting already. You have a charter here, gentlemen, to promote general aviation and commercial aviation. That's in your charter. I hope you read it and understand that. But to raise rates 50%, it's ridiculous. Come on, do the right thing. This is not right, guys. You know it, I know it, the board, the management knows it. I disagree with you, Mr. Brown. This is a district airport. It's run by the district. People would like you to promote general aviation, commercial aviation. Mr. Adams, I disagree with you. Your proposals. You guys need to read the charter and promote general aviation and commercial aviation. That's your charter. That's your mantra. That's what you're supposed to be doing. By raising the rates, this amount, you're gonna put a lot of guys like me out of the team. You're not promoting general aviation that way. The damn fence you have up there keeps, I don't know how many kids away from the airport. I call it the damn fence. It's a false security. That's another item. But please, do the right thing. Thanks for listening. You just.
Next up, we have Steve, is it Dayton, sorry, or Dalton?
Hi, guys. My name's Steve Dayton. I have 2 hangars here. My issue is I'm a brand new contract holder here. I don't think I've made my 2nd month's rent yet. So one point is when I entered into a rental agreement with you, I assume, and I didn't bring my contract with me, but I'm assuming it's a 1-year contract. So at some point, I understand it says I can occasionally raise the rent. Well, I've just been here about a month and now it's gonna go up 50%. The other issue, and this is a rumor, I haven't run home and got my contract back, but it says you can raise the rent based on the CPI, or Consumer Price Index. Well, 3.7% is the state average on Consumer Price Index. We're gonna raise my rent about $10, okay? So I'm not gonna come up here and throw a fit over a $10 rent increase, but when you're trying to raise it 50%,
I think I'm gonna have to talk to somebody about, you know, being in contract and signing a contract for $265 rent, and now it's gonna jump $100 and some odd dollars. So anyway, thanks for your consideration, and that's my position. Appreciate it.
Next up, we have Robert. Robert Roden.
Yeah. My name's Robert Roden. I have a hangar here and an airworthy airplane too. That being said, I have well, two things I want to talk about. One, information flow was not good. And that's already been addressed, so I'll leave it at that. The other issue I have is the way our governments, and it's not just the airport here, but this is like county governments, everybody, Santa Barbara, Monterey, San Luis Obispo County, they all say, well, we're raising our wages to our, I don't know, fire chief because Monterey's fire chief makes more money than ours. And Santa Barbara says, well, hey, they just raised their fire chief rates in San Luis Obispo, so we're gonna raise ours. I think that's a completely invalid argument. And it should be based on what the need is, and if we need, you know, we've all been told, and promised at one point, it would be the CPI, and whatever that was, we were okay with it. No, you didn't get a crowd like this over CPI increase, but it just annoys me no end when I see all these agencies and stuff saying, well, so-and-so is doing this, so we're gonna get up to market rate. Well, if they did that, then this other one feeds off of that. Everybody's feeding off each other. And all of a sudden you've reached an area where people in the government are making a ton of money and everybody else is like being an electrician or something is left behind because government folks are making a ton of money. Now, I don't know what this money would be used for, this additional ridiculous amount. But, and I have a feeling that what'll happen down the road when you guys talk this over, whatever happens, it'll be some lesser, but it'll still be way more than whatever it was or was gonna be for the year. It'll be over 25%. That's gonna make us feel better. We'll just ask for 50 and we'll settle at 25. You know, that's kind of how I look at the way it's gonna go. And the one last thing I want to mention is everybody in, especially not airplanes, they all think that, oh, you have an airplane, you're rich. We're not rich. We're choosing to spend some of our retirement money, a lot of us in here, on something we enjoy, but it's not because we have $5 million in the bank, we can spare it. So that's about all I got to say. Go to work, do what you're gonna do, but yeah, my 3 minutes most likely have to.
Actually, you still got time, but.
Okay.
Rich.
Hey, my name is Rich Jansen. I'm the hangar tenant and also FAST representative on the team. My two talking points have pretty much been covered. There are a couple things that I would like to point out. Like Renee, I considered it part of my safety team duties, if you will, when I first heard this rumor, to go over to the district office and find out what was going on. Thinking they wouldn't do that. Well, so the individual that I talked to in the district office went to show me, and this was probably a little bit before noon, went to show me where the data was on the website and couldn't be found. An hour later, it was on the website. So I can corroborate Renee's story. The only other thing that I'd like to stress here is there's an astonishing lack of communication and respect, I think, from the board and staff towards the GA tenants, the GA community. I would venture to say that minimum 50% of the people in the town, in the hangars, do not know, have never seen our general manager. Okay. I've had 2 meetings with the general manager. Nash, you were both of them. And the overarching subject that we discussed, and I have my own notes on this, was the lack of communication and how we needed a simple 1-page a month newsletter, what's going on. I offered to do it. I was never contacted. No follow-up from board was. A lot of this heartache that we have here tonight, I think could have been toned down. Nobody likes red. Okay. And it's given. But to come out like this and just drop it on us, and it just smacks of trying to blow it us. Okay? And that's wrong. You know what's wrong, I know what's wrong, everybody knows. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Rich. Next up, we have Joel Esmeister.
All violence. What we are here is local Santa Maria, small town, local pilots. Some of us are corporate pilots, some of us are hobby weekend pilots. It keeps us sane, it keeps us from going crazy. We got a little airplane or something that'll get us in the air at a reasonable price. Because like John said, there's no such thing as a rich pilot. Those don't, they're not in the same sentence. So it's in a budget is what it is. And those of us who are, myself included, recently retired are on a fixed income budget. And we're still eking this out. And it's keeping our sanity. So it's obvious here who we're playing cards with by looking at this. And I don't think it's any card table that we'd like to sit down and play cards, because it just seems to me, I don't know if it's just me or everybody else, but it seems like there might be a few more cards under the table than we know of. So just by the way things are going with the new dealer, the new rules that are just now starting to come out. Nobody's talking about it, but it's going to squeeze a lot of us right out of aviation. I've been renting this hangar over here for probably 30 years or close to it, and never had any problems. Little bumps in my hangar rent increased, but nothing at the 50% range, which is just going to smoke my outgas budget into the wall. So, which might put me in a non-airworthy condition, because I'm one of the people that, according to the third party that everybody's been watching, I'm unairworthy because I don't have an electrical system on my airplane. I hand prop, so I don't have a transponder or ADS-B. Flying my airplane is like driving a Model A or a 1965 Volkswagen Bug. Nobody knows you're coming down the road until you're gone. So I'm not trackable. And there's a lot of people that are Viper Cubs, Aruncca Champs, Chiefs, Taylor Crafts,
There's a lot of aircraft out there that don't have electrical systems with ADS-B, so they're considered unairworthy according to but that's another topic. The rent increase of 50% is just out of control. It's another brick in the wall in the chipping away of our freedoms and our liberties in this country that's happening right now. As we speak. And it's just rapidly going this year. And I don't know how far we can go with the chipping away. This isn't a chip. This is a chunk. It seems like we're going with a bigger hammer than a chip away. So anyway, I don't know what else said, how much time I got left.
You got about 30 seconds.
Yeah, it feels like when I was a little teeny kid watching TV with my dad, who was a hero of mine, fighting in the Second World War. Dad, we are gonna be attacked or invaded. He said, oh yeah, but it won't be like what you're watching on TV. They're gonna move in while you're asleep. And they're gonna be at the breakfast table when you wake up tomorrow morning. You're gonna go have breakfast with them, like nothing ever happened. And right now, I feel like we're having breakfast. So.
Here, Bill.
I mean, that was all.
Next up, we have Joe Riney. Joel Riney.
Joel.
Joel.
Joel. He was there. He was there. Joel out there? Joel. He's a pass.
Okay, moving on to Tom Jones.
Good evening, Director, staff, and the real people. I got a little different view here. We didn't get to build hangars, so my plane's still in Oklahoma, and I want to bring it here. So we can build some hangars, I'd like to do that. I'm gonna read something Brown Act 54960.2. When considering new or increased taxes or assessments which are not subject to separate notice and public hearing requirements, local legislative bodies, that's you guys, must hold a public meeting and public hearing in accordance with the procedures set forth in the Brown Act. These procedures require that the local agency publish a joint notice of the meeting and the public hearing in the newspaper. Not less than 45 days notice of the hearing and not less than 10 days notice for the meeting. The meeting must also take place at least 7 days prior to the public hearing. The notice must contain detailed information about the nature, purpose, amount of the proposed tax or assessment. 2011 legislative changes clarify what information is required to be provided to business subject to the assessment. I'm almost done, so I won't hold it very much. Any new or increased assessment subject to the notice and hearing requirements of Proposition 218, California's Articles 13C and 13D are not subject to those notice and hearing requirements. With the adoption of Proposition 26 in 2010, the definition of taxes has been expanded to include regulatory and service fees, which fees exceed those costs of implementing regulation or providing service. This is the third time I've brought this here. And we talk about money and we talk about money. And I don't want to go file paper. All this been filed in paper. I got paper cuts in my butt. And it's just, we need to get people together. These people and myself, we want to fly airplanes. I want to fly my grandkids around before I get too old. But the thing we're going to have to do is everybody's going to work together or it isn't going to work. And the last thing that happens, if you guys go ahead and do this, these people can bring this to a vote. And I'm gonna tell you, you do a 45-day notice, you ain't got enough room in this building for everybody to show up. America vote. The public has their say-so in the Brown Act. Work with them. Understand the Brown Act, because it'll save you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you so very much.
I just want to clarify this, we're not talking about a new tax. I just wanted to clarify that. So it was great, it was a great, great speech. It was a great speech, but this isn't, we're not talking about taxes here. We're not- Yeah, so let's moving on to next person. We have Lloyd. Lloyd
Massey.
Massey, that's it.
Hi, I'm Lloyd Massey, and I'm a professional pilot and recreational pilot. I have rented a hangar from Santa Maria for 6 years. Every year without fail, they have raised the hangar rent. 3%, 4%, whatever. That seems reasonable, although not missing a single year, and a little bit sloppy there. My rhetorical question to you is, are you raising the rent simply because you can and you want to match what higher airports are charging? San Luis Obispo is not San Maria. Or do you have a specific agenda in mind for the money you raise? Because the money you raise from that is not in a vacuum. If we have to spend $1,400 more a year in hangar fees, that's $1,400 less a year that I have for avgas, for aviation maintenance, for a new paint job. So I'm gonna be spending less money at Central Coast Aviation buying fuel. I'm gonna be spending less money at the paint shop. I'm gonna be spending less money at Coastal Valley Aviation or whoever does your maintenance. So you're gonna get my $1,400 and they're gonna lose my business. So this decision does not happen in a vacuum. We're supposed to be working together. The airport exists for the good of the community and the pilots in general. We're supposed to be working together. I won't compare us to husband and wife, but if you were my wife, you're not working with me. You're back in. Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd. Ronnie Burke. Ronnie. Ronnie Burke.
Talk about Ronnie.
Jim Baker.
Board members and tenants, thank you for hearing my speech here, which you want to call a speech. I do object to this highly. I do not think you have justification for it. If you do have justification, I'd like to hear it. Are you gonna take this money that you're gonna raise and use it for infrastructure improvements? Like the road that goes into the one gate there near Coastal Valley? That thing is nothing but potholes. A lot of these hangars have holes in the roofs because the roofs are old. There's a lot of structures that need to be repainted. Are you gonna do that with the money? That's my one big question. What are you gonna do with the money? All right, now supposedly this airport has about $5 to $7 million in surplus. Are you using that to improve the infrastructure? Aren't there other ways to raise other capital through maybe charging rent or fees for parking in this huge parking lot? Everybody parks for free. I think there's a lot more capability for this airport district to raise funds and keep the rents for the tenants that have been here for a long time at a reasonable level. Now, I do understand, maybe there is a necessity to raise these funds. If you're gonna do it in a reasonable manner, maybe spread it out over 5, 6, 10-year period. But in one fell swoop, that's ridiculous. And I'll tell you right now, I have a commercial operation here. My buddies and I are trying to promote aerial firefighting with a new venture project that we're doing. And the rent that I will see in an increase will substantially impact my ability to promote my aerial firefighting venture project. So you are going to impact businesses here besides the tenants here who are trying to just get along with their passion for general aviation. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I know I don't have a opinion. But I.
Go ahead and write them down.
Okay, those,
Go ahead and speak and we can write them down.
okay. I am his spouse. I have been here one other time, and communication is key. There is an issue that I see, as Jim stated. Was there anything produced or sent out to any of these folks as to the plan that you have? Showing a CAD, computer aided drawing, or some sort of something showing, okay, for this rent increase, this is what we're gonna fix. And what have you fixed and done, and what improvements have you made since our last session, since last year when I believe there was some budget or something that was approved? I can't recall what it was, but these folks, and myself included, are not seeing like, okay, this is what you're getting for this, for this rent increase. This is our plan. Sure, it's great to put numbers down and send it out and put it on the website, but folks need to touch, see, smell, and feel. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Dana Reserve situation. What they've done is they at least gave a year, if not more, to those folks, to the people that live in that area. You don't like it, why? Come to the meetings, come to the sessions. What are the solutions? What other ways can we raise funds, just as Jim said? Parking fees. And then what is your promise to us? Have you already approved this? Because from my experience, when we learned here before, you guys had made a motion and had approved something, and yet we were sitting there and we were fighting. So I just kind of am hoping this time around that this actually hasn't been approved by everybody. And that, as Jim said, besides aviation here, there is wonderful people that support Santa Maria by other jobs, taxi services. These are important for the Santa Maria city itself. And since everybody's supposed to be working with the Santa Maria itself and promoting and helping the citizens of Santa Maria and drawing in business, which would then help and, bring more money into this particular venture. But by just not giving, and maybe, like Jim said, over a period of time, so people can kind of get used to the sting. I don't like surprises, but I'd really like to see something given to everybody here and showing them in black and white, like a plan, like the Dana Reserve. This is what's gonna be fixed. This road over here, this hangar, this and that. And my other question is this for everybody on the entire airport, or is this only for specific hangars, for specific businesses, or not? Whether they have airworthy airplane, whether we do, is this across the board for everybody? That needs to be answered fairly. I think that's a reasonable request. But I don't see anything up there showing us tonight. Okay, there's a lot of people here, so myself included, I would really like to see, all right, what are you gonna fix? What have you fixed? What have you done? And what are you doing with the surplus? And there is a definite, feeling of some people agree, some people don't. I agree, like you said, you have to raise rates eventually. I get that, but you base it on, what are we gonna get in return? What have you fixed since we've been here, since 2012? The roads, nothing's changed, as far as I can see. So show us, give us graphs, let us see, besides numbers on the paper. All right, how do you justify it, and where's your overall plan? In a nice big picture, if you can. Thank you very much.
Ryan? Ryan Ayers?
Everybody, thanks for your time today. I am a commercial pilot, GA pilot. My wife and I have flight instructor out of this field, for aircraft. Well, what it appears to be happening at a lot of airports, this has happened in San Luis, this has happened in some of the LA based airports. They look at the rents that they can bring in as far as revenue based off of the surrounding areas. And this has been a pattern with San Luis, with Santa Barbara, different municipals in LA to where pricing at the airport, they're trying to match market rates. Now, I don't know if that's what we're trying to do here, but you can ask anyone here that rents and services at airports have always been historically low. So are we following it? So I'm asking you guys, are we following a trend where we're trying to match the outside market on what you might be charging someone for an office building on the other side of the Skyway? Are we trying to do that? Well, what are we trying to achieve here? Or are we trying to be, or are you still trying to be, are you trying to be competitive in the outside market? Or are we trying to be historically positive towards GA and, commercial operations? So that's a question for you guys to have to answer yourselves. Thank you.
So I'd like to go back to discussion between us after listening to everything that we just heard. With that being said, I'm gonna do something a little different, which get some involvement from you guys. Raise your hand here if you've been here for more than 10 years. Raise your hand if you've been here for more than 20 years. 30 years? 40 years? How much has changed out there?
Not much.
Exactly.
Where's the money going? Show us.
So who's used this new taxiway out here? Has anyone, I mean, you guys are all pilots.
New taxiway?
We have four private pilots.
Yeah.
This new taxiway that was put out here.
I've used it quite a bit.
Raise your hand if you know how much that was. This is all public. You should know. How much was it? 7?
$1,000 billion.
Bidenomics, baby.
I know.
Yeah, federal funds.
It's expensive.
But that was for commercial, not for GA. That's
It's infrastructure, it's just infrastructure in general. So you're asking, what are we gonna be doing with this? What you wanna, and I just wanna say, thank you everyone for being here. This is the most packed I've seen this room. I see familiar faces, I see new faces here. Welcome, truly, welcome. We have had meetings where there's 1 or 2 people in this room, and we're having these discussions on what are we gonna be spending on? What are we? If you had been on some of those discussions, you would know, we don't really have a surplus. We don't really have any of that stuff. We have infrastructure issues. We have, like Basket and other people have talked about, security issues. So you wanna know what we're gonna be doing with this? There you go. So with that being said, I would like to discuss what we can, if we're gonna. I think you've got 2 more people. You have 2 more people?
No, I'm not on your agenda. I just looked at,
Okay, can you also fill out a public session
I should.
and then?
We did post it on Monday night. And then, Rich Johnson, I tried to find it, I didn't know where it was.
We're gonna have Nick speak.
Okay, I'm Vicky Kozak, been on the airport since, I don't know, we bought our airplane in 97 or 98. You're talking about market rates and increasing it. I'm also a landlord in the area. And the state of California would flip out if I went to any of my home tenants and said, guess what I'm doing with your rent? It's going up 50%. You can't do that. You can't do that to people. You can't just say, you know what the rent increases have been on these hangars? It's gone up 3.3%. It's gone up 8.4%. It's gone up 2.7%. And now this year, boom. It's like a bomb went off. Read the room, man. Mr. Baskin nailed it. He's the last person I thought I would agree with him. Do you see the age of the people around here? I'm a baby in here at 55. We have had at least 3 tenants leave my hangar room because they aged out of their airplanes. You're gonna get to the point where trying to bring in new pilots is nearly impossible. My husband's a flight instructor. His new students are 65 and 57. This is how old they are. They're not gonna be here long, man. We gotta encourage new people to come into this. I saw it happen with my son playing hockey. I saw it with motocross. It comes and it goes. If you do not take care of the people coming in and make it affordable for new students, it's not, I mean, we have a school. I don't even know if Doug Fainer is here today somewhere. But he tried to have a school here and it's super expensive and kids don't want to fly because they can't afford it.
Nikki, what do they pay in other areas and other airports? What do they pay?
What are they paying for hangars? I mean, I can tell you what the rents are. I actually wrote them down today and you're right, market value is up. But like I said, as a homeowner, I can't increase my tenants' rents until they move out. So maybe as these people leave, then you want to start renting the hangars out to the new tenants at a higher price. Assuming they don't leave it to their children or their grandchildren, because I know one guy who might do that, leaving it to his grandson. And even then, the kid can't afford his kid, okay, he's 40 years old. He can't, I mean, it's tough for him to afford to even fly an airplane that his grandfather owns the airplane and a hangar, but he's got to pay the gas, man, it's expensive. It's expensive to have an annual. Unless you do it yourself. Ronnie didn't stick around. Ronnie does his own annuals. He's got an experimental airplane. I mean, I've been around here forever. I know Kim, I know Teresa, I know Ronnie, I know Jim, I mean, there's so many people here that word of mouth went like, almost like your increase did. Boom. I mean, it just, because you freaked us out. You know, we're used to seeing rent increases. And I mean, when you say what you're gonna spend the money on, I mean, I gotta tell you, I've been looking at some things and I know it's later on the agenda, but the whole customs situation we're doing, we're catering to the farmers and we're catering to the Canadians. I know we are. I know that's what's on your mind. And we gotta pay for that customs office because we gotta put lipstick on that pig, man. It looks like crap right now.
Right.
You're taking a big risk there. And I think you're gonna want the money to come in. And I'm not even gonna discuss travel expenses because I got some ugly news on that. So let's just say this is a ridiculous increase. It should have been put out far earlier and spread out over time to give the new pilots a chance. You can pilot yourself. You just got your license in 2022. I know you did. Did you do it here? No. You did it in St. Louis. It was probably pretty expensive. So it's like, you understand, it's not a cheap hobby to have. And I mean, I don't go out to dinners. I cut my own hair. I buy my mascara on Amazon or CVS. I mean, I choose where to spend my money. I shop at TJ Maxx.
You're red pilot, maybe.
Well, I mean,
You're playing.
it's just, yeah, we've had our airplane forever. Teresa painted it in 2014 when we happened to have the funding to do it. I mean, but it's like you really, you gotta watch your expenses, and when something hits you, it's gonna change your expenses so dramatically and so immediately, it hurts. Thanks.
Board members.
One second, please.
Hi. My name is Turbo Charles Griffith. I'm a combat veteran. PTSD, the only thing that cures that for me is getting up in the air. Okay? Been in the military for 26 years. I've been involved with aviation since 1977. One of the things that I have learned how to do in my military career is read people's faces, and I'm seeing 50% of board members here are actually paying attention to what us pilots are saying. You're distracted. You're not listening. That shows you don't care.
Yep.
So here's the deal. You got a strategic vision for the airport? Are you actually executing that strategic vision? Because if you are, a strategic vision of slapping 50% rent increase on general aviation pilots and hangar tenants is counter to executing a strategic vision. You're not going to grow the airport by chasing us out of here by raising our rent. That does not promote aviation. Promoting aviation is attracting pilots, attracting young kids in here that want to learn how to fly, that want to partake in aviation activities. Your ramp out here sucks. I'm a horizontal construction engineer. That's what I did in the Army. You got so much fun on the ramp out here. Everybody that has a propeller that swings has got damage on the propellers. Where you going to use the ramp? Got a nice taxi plane, it's great. It doesn't do any good out here when you start our aircraft up, taxi out, and we're taking rocks everywhere. When are you going to paint the hangars? They're rusty, falling apart. Some of them leak. Some of them have moss growing and mold growing on the roof. If you don't take care of your infrastructure, it's going to fall apart. I'm going to encourage you, if you want to do something like raising rent this high, invest it where it matters, not on a chunk of concrete out here, but on your general aviation. You got a museum hangar over here that's falling apart. That right there is historic. What are you letting it do? Fall apart. You're not promoting aviation. You're pissing off the community. That's counter to promoting aviation. Those people that are not actively listening, I hope you're hearing this.
By the way, I want to interject. He's our attorney, he's not a witness.
But he needs to listen.
Well, yeah, I'm sure he's listening.
He needs to listen. So do you guys. Back off this 50%. Let's do it smartly. Let's create a strategic vision. Let's execute it smartly. Not by fleecing the pockets. Thank you.
This one's in, starts with a V.
Vance.
Vance.
Vance Breeze. My name is Vance Breeze, and I wasn't gonna talk on kind of like, I don't understand what you're doing here, it doesn't make any sense. But then when he said that it's to compete with market rents, I'm a landlord here in town. And you know, if I could just move my apartments down to, Santa Barbara, I could charge a whole lot more rent. And if I could move up to St. Louis Obispo, I could charge a whole bunch of rent.
What do they charge per square foot right off of this airport? If I go right off of this airport and I find some place to rent, what's the square footage that they charge right off of this airport? Do you know? Or it's $1.50 a square foot.
He said.
Is that right, Mark?
Other airport. You just were talking about.
Vance, continue, sorry, continue, Vance,
Excuse me?
continue.
Oh, so anyway, we're here in Santa Maria. People make less money here in Santa Maria. They have a crappy airport up there in San Luis Obispo, but they get all the business because they're in San Luis Obispo. And Santa Barbara, that's a pretty nice airport, but they don't have a lot of hangars, and it's not a good place for general aviation. So they get to charge a bunch of rent because they're in Santa Barbara. We're here in Santa Maria. In Santa Maria, the median household income is about a third of what it is in Santa Barbara. I think we need to be a little bit more reasonable about how we pull this off. I think that'd be real nice. I know if I try to raise my rents 50%, the state of California would go nuts. And so I don't quite understand about renting a tin shed, which is not what you see just off the airport. That was built a long time ago. It's not in very good shape. It doesn't have good electricity. I don't think you can rent that for
what you can rent. Nine's just off. But that's just my opinion, and I'm sure if you raise the rent, I'll figure out a way to pay it, and it'll just make me sad. Thank you.
Thank you, Vance. John?
Thank you very much, Board. Thank you very much. Well, I want to start off by saying I love this airport. I moved here 10 or 12 years ago from San Luis because even though I'm right next door to San Luis, and I think you'll find this is true for a lot of people here, we're willing to try a lot further to get a portable hangar, not to be out on the ramp. Because not always can afford 40 cents square foot hangar. And, yes, that was kind of the first point. The second point was, you know, a lot of other airports, they have other options, like San Luis. If I want to pay the expensive hangar rent, I can buy a hangar there. Price you can on there all the time. There's spots out there, so they have other options. Those other regional airports, they offer ground leases at 30 cents per square foot per year. And it's just on their website, you can do that. Here, we can't do that. Previously, I was at Palo Alto and San Carlos. Their ramps have acres and acres full of airplane tied down. And they also have shelters, and then they have hangars. So here at Santa Maria, we have a monopoly on hangars. That's all we have, and the rates are controlled by the board. So I don't think it's fair to hold us hostage to have no other option besides tying down, and then raise the rents. There's no point on the you can't remember it. But, yeah, I guess that's what I was telling you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone who spoke. Like I said earlier, let's go back into discussion mode.
We're at $27, 27 cents a square foot. So we're at. And we're proposing to go to 40 cents a square foot. And I'm not on board with that if we're gonna do the, with the plane or no plane or one minute, not worthy. That's an extra expense, and I already heard you say you're in agreement to get rid of that.
My thing from the start was to try, in order to try to keep the risks down, was to take and to defer some of it to the planes we're flying. So raise it up, I don't have any thought about that. One thing everybody needs to realize is everybody in here is a hangar tenant. We represent the district in whole is a lot of people. So all we're trying to do is be good stewards with what we have and get the rates we have. Everybody wants to get things fixed up. You want us to fix them, then raise the rent? It doesn't work that way. Money has to come in order to make the changes. Everybody has had it really good for a long, long time. And if we raised it 15% or 20%, you're still gonna be irritated. And the thing is, everybody's had it good for a long time. The CPI has, you have rentals, you're rolling your eyes, you have rentals. If you go back and figure out what you rented for 20 years ago versus now, it's not just CPI. You've got up there, you should be in market rates. So that's what we're trying to do, is be stewards with what we have. So that's my 2 cents for the talk.
I listen to everybody here, and I totally understand. I have an airplane. I have a hangar. It affects me just like it does every single one of you. I know the infrastructure problems we have. I know where we need to get money and get things fixed. Not change the rates, it's just not gonna happen. So you're gonna have your leaking water. You're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get the ramp fixed. I mean, it has to do with something. They say, I totally understand you guys. I have a hangar. I have an airplane I'm trying to fix. So I totally feel your pain. I totally understand. But I still support
Run it out, for God's sakes.
Huh?
Try to blow it through.
So we had a rates discussion a few months ago. You weren't here, Rich. You weren't here at that board meeting. We did have a discussion.
Guaranteed 50%.
I mean, look, I really, hear me out, because I really want to get this through Like, I really do. I really appreciate everyone here. If this could be the board meeting every second Thursday, that'd be great, because we make, when we discuss on different items. Okay. We did have a rates discussion previously in the past. And from my understanding, it went out on Monday, and I don't see why it wouldn't go out on Monday, which is the normal aspect. It's every agenda item goes out on Monday. But beside the point, let's go back to what Chuck was saying.
I mean, we need to fix this infrastructure. I mean, the average rent is, we're actually below that. I mean, it's gotta come with something.
About the travel expense.
Travel expense of what?
Let me say something real quick.
That's but.
Sorry?
You will all be known as a 50% for this is totally ridiculous. Yeah.
You guys have got cards under the table.
President, we have to remember we're in a public meeting.
Yes.
Process we have to follow. So if they want to make a public meeting, it has to be open to public comment.
How much they'd like to make one comment on it. I would support normal CPI rate we have all this time. I believe doing this, both tonight for 50% will help destroy this airport further. We're gonna lose flights, be less gasoline sold, and it will not add 1 cent on 1 cubic square inch of new pavement. It won't happen. We've had funds here to fix things. They have not been used. And right now, we are still deteriorating on infrastructure. The big costs for runway improvements, other things are borne by the FAA, we pay 10% of that. But to come with this, and I'm on the board member, and I do not remember 50% until I learned about it 3 days ago. I propose that we just simply stick and revise this to the CPI increase, and then we have meetings with folks. Lots of information to do anything else.
So I would like to propose that we do a 10% increase every 6 months until we reach market rate.
No, that's not. I would like to take it, I would like to postpone this until the next board meeting. Everybody's welcome. We don't hide it. But we need to figure out this thing I want to raise. The thing, they come back, refine it a little bit, bring it back, and then do the thing there. I don't like the thing there. The bottom line, guys, is the rents have got to go up. This spreading it out, doing the things there.
No. Steve, we're not opposed to the rent increase. We're opposed to, we want to, I think, see more visibility, what's really happening on that. You're talking about the infrastructure, be specific, call it out, so we can get on board. I mean, come on, let's have some transparency.
I would like,
I just saying, like you said, you were talking about.
you would like to make that as a motion?
Yeah, I just want to postpone this till the next board meeting to take it. So I got this thing I want to change. That one bad rate thing, I don't like the other deal, and then we can get rid of the other part, and then do it, but it's still gonna be.
And I'll second that.
I will second. Make your motion. Make your motion.
I make a motion to postpone it.
I'll second. Seconds, okay? We have a motion and a second to postpone this
Mr.
to,
President, do you have a date certain on when you'd like to?
yes, the next board meeting. The next agenda item. Okay, motion and second for the next agenda board meeting. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
You get a bigger room next time.
Probably not. I appreciate everyone here. I appreciate everyone making their public comment. We are going to be moving on to item number 7, which is resolution 931, a resolution of the board of directors of the Santa Maria Public Airport District approving salaries and salary increases for the district employees for fiscal year 2024-2025. That's right. Going to continue on to item number 7, which I just spoke.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the resolution that allows the district to approve a cost of living increase for the staff.
I will make a motion to approve it as written.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
I'm sorry.
On to, we said aye.
No,
We have to allow public comment.
We don't hear well back.
All of us over here, we can.
There was there was nothing for number seven. Sorry, what was that?
They're increasing salaries, that's what they said, it's agenda, it's on the agenda.
Yeah, it's on the agenda.
You guys just follow along with the agenda, it's all laid out, clear as day, it was posted Monday.
Okay, moving on to item number 8, authorization for the president to execute the compensation agreement pursuant to Health and Safety Code Section 34180 Foxtrot for transfer of the Royal Theater properties for future development activity.
That would be Daniel.
Mr. President, is it okay to table this just for one item that I'll pull up the materials and see the further?
Okay, moving on to item number 9, and then going back to item number 8 afterwards. Item number 9, discussion and direction to staff regarding the request for rent abatement from Artcraft Paint for operational costs incurred for ongoing flooding and roof leaks.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you're well aware of, the hangar that Artcraft is housed in has roof issues, have been for some time. And they experienced damage and costs with dealing with the rains this winter. And they submitted a request for some kind of abatement of rent to address those costs. I would, with Artcraft's permission, if you will, like to request that we push this item back a week to the next meeting. And acknowledge that your board has received it and is aware of it. There's some ongoing efforts we're making to address it, and I think it'd be a couple more weeks, let's get a better idea of what our plan is. They'll give you some context on how to consider this. That'd be my request.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to push this to the next meeting, which is the following board meeting after this one. So all in favor? Aye. Daniel, back to 8.
Yes, sir.
All right, we are going back to item number 8, authorization for the president to execute the compensation agreement pursuant to Health and Safety Code Section 34180 Foxtrot for transfer of the Royal Theater properties for future development activity.
Thank you, Mr. President, and Director Brown, thank you for clarifying my role. Daniel Chung, legal counsel for the district. I do not make the decisions. I advise you as board on how to proceed on any matters. I have been paying attention. I do pay attention during your meetings, and so it's a pleasure to be with you here today, and happy to present on this item number 8. So this is really an oddity of state law. Many years ago, the redevelopment agencies throughout the state were dissolved, and part of that was that in the dissolution of those redevelopment agencies, the benefits that would have accrued to those redevelopment agencies were spread out to different taxing entities that were located within the former district. So the Guadalupe redevelopment agency was dissolved, and the Santa Maria Airport District receives 0.9576% of any benefits that redevelopment agency would have received. So this compensation agreement is just you all sort of agreeing to that benefit. It's set by statute. This is about the, let's see, it's the Royal Theater out in Guadalupe. I've never been there, but it's run down. They don't make any money. They don't plan to sell it. But really, this is just a pro forma item that's required by state law. The county, and I think it's the city of Santa Maria, as the sort of the keeper of those benefits, has to get your permission on these agreements every year. So we recommend that you adopt, that you approve.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
And I'll second that, and not somewhat familiar with the process, and I agree with it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Moving on to item number 10, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the 27th amendment of lease between the district and CJJ Farm.
We'd ask that you approve the sublease. Thank you.
We have a motion.
Yes, you have a motion, I've read the second, and I make a motion to move.
We have a motion, sorry.
Go ahead. We'll talk about
Okay. Do we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Oh,
Discussion. You get to talk first.
absolutely, go for it.
I just want to bring it up that we're in the process of raising ag land rates. And that this kind of is a special deal here because of the timing issue. That, I'm gonna go ahead and approve it, but everybody needs to know that when all these come up again, you're gonna be at the new rates. So,
This one here just put it in the time. It's all from.
yeah, no, exactly. That's why we didn't mess with this one.
They'll can do it.
So I want to do that because next time any of these come up, we need to adjust the rates.
Yes. Okay, with that being said, thank you. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item number 11, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the second amendment of service agreement between the district and Rabat Albrecht and Associates, Inc. for professional services for the Santa Maria Airport U.S. Customs Building remodel.
This is just a time. This is just changing and extending the time.
I make a motion to accept it. That's been a long-term project, which was basic failure of an earlier board that caused a problem, but it's getting fixed finally, and hopefully it will be open and ribbon cutting this year. Make a motion for. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Moving on to item number 12, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the first amendment of service agreement between the district and Tartal Engineering for the runway and taxiway emergency repair at the Santa Maria Public Airport District.
Yes, we're bidding the contract. What's that?
Extending the time.
Again, it's an extension of time.
I make the motion to approve it.
And also I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Moving on to item number 13, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the second amendment of service agreement between the district and Tartali Engineering for the rehabilitate parallel and connecting taxiways phase 1.
Yes, sir. Yes, President. Again, this is an extension period of time for this contract.
I'll make a motion.
Is this one over we did the year ago, like over $1 million out of our pocket?
It was the amendment of the FAA contract to use the same contractor to do these locally funded $1 million crack seal restriping of the airport. Okay. And there was some localized pavement repair that was made as well.
We have a motion,
Second.
so we have a second, all in favor? Aye. And with that, we are moving on to closed session after a 10-minute break. Thank you, everyone. Meeting's a closed session with reportable actions.
Thank you, Mr. President. On item 14A, anticipated litigation exposure, on one of the cases, the claim brought by Mr. Hayes, the board has voted unanimously to reject that claim, pursuant to the recommendation of insurance and legal counsel.
That being said, moving on to item number 15, director's comments. We'll start on it.
Couple of comments. One is we've been through a little bit of a process here this evening because people did not get information. And there's no supporting study underlying it. The economic benefit of raising the rates like was proposed. I think anytime we go to raise something that's different than what's already been agreed to, we should have some study done to see if it's really going to bring in some money that is effective. A lot of people will start leaving this airport and find it practical this airport. By the way, I think we still got some empty hangars. And raising the rate by 50% is not going to help fill those hangars. So I think anytime we are asked to do something out of what we've already agreed to, we should spend some time, get some smart people on it, and analyze as to what the likely outcome will be. This whole thing about the 30 and 40% for not flying is, I don't think worked out very well. And I've asked several times for some proof that that's worked, but that's enough on that. Security. We all know we've had some security issues here the last month. And I've seen no report that any plan to improve security. Without security, the sense of well-being and safety at this airport diminishes. And we've had really tragic tragedies in security, big tragedies, in my view. One of the things that's come out with the meetings is lack of information. Suddenly stuff shows up on the internet. I'm also a board member with 9,000 students in 4 schools. And I can tell you, every day and every other day and every week, there are reports that go out to everyone in the schools or affected by the schools, including parents, as to what's going on. I think we've only got 200 or 300 tenants here. We should be able to put out once a week what's happening, and just a newsletter that should come out from the general director, general manager, and say, this is what we're doing, where we're at, what's up and what's down, and begin repairing some of the relationships that have been ruptured through this process. So I'll quit with that. I've got other things, but that's enough for me there.
We have cases that are going on, and we're gonna resolve those cases, and we're gonna move forward. And it's all gonna be self-evident in the next coming months, and very short coming months, to deal with the 27 cents that we're the lowest of anybody around. We're the lowest. And we need to come up a little bit to come in line with some of the other ones. Not gonna be like Santa Barbara at 83 cents. But we need to come up somewhat and be more competitive, because we're good stewards of the property and we want to do it right. Like Brown said, we want to do it right. We want to be good stewards of this property, and we want to make sure we get the best for the taxes that have been spent to this place. Our goal here is for aviation and to grow aviation. It's also to grow this airport. By growing this airport, we're going to grow aviation out here. So I think everything that we're discussing in closed session and everything that we've discussed in open session is angled only toward making that goal happen. I'll submit it. Submit it. Listen to that. It's like being recorded. I'll submit it. I'll submit it.
So I share that sentiment, that Michael has. I think we're moving forward, we're climbing up that hill, and we just gotta keep hiking. And really, like, it's just, for years, this airport has had infrastructure problems, and that's one of the things that I came in here to try to relieve, to be a part of that fix. So it's what I would like to see.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, it's your
It was good to see everybody here today, and I know it's a real hot topic. You know, we've heard like, well, my hangar breaks, oh, we need to do paint, oh, we need to fix the apron. Everybody lands on this runway that we just fixed, it was $1 million out of our pocket. You know, with no funding that we had. The money has to come from somewhere. I mean, the property is worth what the property is worth. The only way we can get to there is by looking at what is comparative in your market. So we get that there, then we can do some of these things. We can get new apron, we can get new things, we can get your roof fixed. You know, or great, the hangar tent's great. You know, they put this apron on, it's $14 million. You guys like to write a check for it this month so we can do it. You guys can all split it up. You know, if we can get it done, I just don't see any other way to do it. So I have.
I want to talk about Dave Bassett, bad decisions, going on and on and on, suing people. Sued me serves us very publicly here, so I think we need to bring it out very publicly. It was resolved Thursday, he lost again. So far, he's cost the district over $250,000 in all his bad decisions that he's done. Just continues on and on and on. The good news in this one here is David lost the thing. He's got to pay the attorney's fees. So my bill is going to be over $10,000 His is yet to be determined. He's probably gonna be somewhere close to that. So it's misfortunate you went through all that hassle to take and do bankruptcy because you couldn't pay your bill. And now you're right back where you got money you can't pay. And a situation where you have no security or safety because of bankruptcy. So good luck to you on paying that money. And what I'd like to do is I'd like at the airport, since this is gonna be actually insurance money, not my money, and that will count against us, I'd like to have the reporting done. As long as he doesn't pay it, I'd like it to come out to show that it's not paid, meeting by meeting. So that's basically what I've got to say.
I think the motion we adjourn.
Thank you.
I'll respond to that.
You didn't get me wrong.
You can't respond to it, it's director's comments. We have a motion
I second.
and we have a second. All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.